and welcome to episode 108 of the Giddy Knits podcast. As always, I am Helen and I'm coming to you from Dundee in Scotland, where I live with my husband, Tom, and my two boys, Arthur, who is 8, and Jasper, who is 5. I always have to think about their ages, always. Today is Monday, the 3rd of January. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, and if you celebrate Christmas, if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have just enjoyed peace and quiet, or enjoyed whatever festive events you celebrate. Oh, that came out really wrong. Happy holiday season. And Happy New Year, everyone, as well. I hope you're looking forward to 2022. I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed. I'm not going to really effuse or say anything drastic about 2022. Let's just keep our fingers crossed. So, welcome. Hello and welcome back to anyone that is a regular viewer. It is always lovely to have you here, and to anyone that is watching for the first time, welcome. I picked up a number of new followers, new subscribers throughout Vlogmas. So if you are a new subscriber from Vlogmas, then welcome to a podcast. This is my standard style of video. I aim to do a weekly podcast sharing all of the crafting things that I've been up to between podcasts, whether that's knitting, crochet, or occasionally other bits and pieces. And yeah, welcome. If you are really new and you have no idea who I am, as I said, I am Helen, and I am the dyer behind Giddy Yarns. And yeah, as I said, this is my crafting podcast. What have I got for you? What have I got for you this week? So we're going to start off with a quick announcement section. I've got a sort of finished object to share with you. I've then got a work in progress that I'm going to share. I've got a couple of new cast ons to talk about. I've got a little bit of Yarny Goodness because I got a couple of little bits for Christmas that I'm going to share, or as part of advent calendars, etc. And then I've got a bit of shop news to share about. And then at the very end, I'm just going to have a little chat about my plans for the podcast this year. Because I have got some plans to just add a little bit of extra content to my YouTube channel, basically. So, announcements. Let's get stuck straight into announcements, shall we? Giddy Yarns Make-Along. We have an ongoing Giddy Yarns Make-Along. Basically, as long as your project uses at least 50% of my yarn, so at least 50% of Giddy Yarns, then you're eligible to enter for prizes. You can enter in various places. You can enter on Instagram, you can enter in the Mighty Networks group, and you can also enter on Ravelry. All of the links and information on how to enter are down underneath the video. So you should be able to find details of everything and everywhere down there. Talking of drop down box underneath the video, I'm going to have a little look at trying to put a bit more information in there for you. I'm hoping to try and put some chapter links in as well. So if you're just after seeing new cast ons, if you're just after seeing various bits and pieces, you can skip to those bits as you want to. I think that's something I can do. I need to double check how to do it. And also show notes. I'm going to ask, do people like show notes? I've not been doing show notes for a while now on my YouTube channel, and I've yet to have anyone turn around and ask me for links for anything that I'm talking about. But would you like to see them come back? Let me know, because I'm curious to see whether show notes are something that people actually look for, or whether me telling you the name of patterns and yarn and stuff like that is enough and you're able to just Google it yourself. Let me know. Anyway, what was I talking about? Giddy Yarns Make-Along. Yeah, all of the details are down below, drop down box under the video. Basically, did I say how you can win prizes? You have to be using at least 50% of my yarn, any project. It doesn't have to be knitting, it can be crochet. I guess you could weave with my yarn. I guess you can't spin my yarn because I don't sell fibre, but you know. Any project that uses my yarn is eligible for entry, and I draw prizes every quarter. So I need to announce some prize winners for the end of 2021. So I've drawn 2 prize winners. There were 21 entries across Ravelry, Instagram and Mighty Networks, and I compiled them all and used a number generator and drew prize winners. So we have 2 prize winners. The first one was Burrow Knitter, who is Julie in the USA. And the second one was Lily's Cats and Mama. I think she is Barbara from Germany, so I feel like I should have said that with a German accent, but I wasn't even going to attempt that. So congratulations to both of you. I will have put the names on the screen, so hopefully you will have spotted your name. Get in touch with me. And what I'm going to do for prizes going forward with this make-along, because of issues with shipping to Europe for customs and stuff like that, basically you can choose. You can either have a skein of yarn from my shop. So basically anything that is in stock in my shop, a single skein of yarn or a sock set, then that is absolutely fine. If there's a colourway of that type that is out of stock, then just let me know and I should be able to dye it up for you. I won't dye up stripes because I don't do them dye to order because they take too long and it's too much pressure. But if you don't want yarn, if you don't want me to ship something to you physically because you're worried about customs or handling fees, then feel free to choose a pattern off Ravelry or whatever other pattern sites that you are comfortable using, so whether that's Payhip or Lovecrafts or whatever, and I will happily gift you a pattern as your prize instead. So just get in touch, let me know what you would like, how you would like me to do it, and I will get your prize to you. So thank you very much for entering and knitting with my yarn. Right, shall we move on to some actual crafting content, shall we? So I'm going to start off with a kind of finished object, and I'm declaring this as a finished object because I'm not going to be working on it again for at least 11 months. And it is, of course, my corner to corner crochet advent blanket, living in this lovely Christmas bag from Debbie at Down Sheepy Lane. I got this a couple of years ago. She did a 12 Days of Christmas set, and this bag was part of it. So this is my advent crochet blanket. So basically, I'll show you it folded up so it's easier to hold up to the camera to start with. Basically, I took part in the Lay Family Yarn Advent Swap, where you're paired up with a partner and you each swap 5 gram minis or 5 gram scraps, as well as a few extra little treats and little bits and pieces. And this year, what I decided to do is I decided to start a corner to corner crochet blanket holding each mini together with a skein of undyed yarn. To create a corner to corner crochet blanket. And this is how it looks. I'm going to have to roll back a little bit because it is a relatively good size so far. So yeah, this is how it is looking. I'm absolutely loving the colours and the way that holding the yarn together with the undyed skein has softened down those darker colours and softened down those brighter colours. There's some really fun little minis that came into this. So there were some little bits of self-striping. I'm just trying to find some of those self-striping bits. Here you go, like right down the bottom here, this grey one. This grey one here with the little pink, blue, red, turquoisey bits in, that was a self-striping. And then there was another one a little bit further up. Can you see here where you've got the green, pink, green, pink? Again, I think that was a self-striping as well. And I love the way that that's crocheted into the blanket. There's also some little bits of sparkle sort of scattered through here as well, which was really fun. And I've really enjoyed working on this. And I was torn, when I started it, I was very torn as to whether I was going to just keep adding scraps into it and keep it as a normal blanket. But what I have decided is that this is going to be an advent blanket. So now that I've added all 24 minis from my advent swap to it, I am going to put it away until next December. And then hopefully I will take part in the advent swap again next year. If not, I'm sure I will find a lovely friend who would be happy to take part in a 5 gram advent swap with me. And I'm going to do the same again next year. So I'm going to add those 5 gram minis in, held together with the yarn, and just keep it growing year on year until eventually it's a size that I'm happy with. So I've really enjoyed working on this, and I'm really excited for it to become a real advent project. And it's quite nice to know that it can now go and sit on my shelf of projects and not have any guilt attached to it, because I'm not going to be working on it until December. So it's just, it doesn't count. It doesn't count as a whip. So yeah, that's my kind of finished object for the moment. I do have a work in progress that I was going to share. So that is in my lovely Christmassy Craft House Magic bag. This one won't come out of a Christmas bag because it's very much a Christmas project. But this is my Cupid's Arrow wrap, which I have been working on throughout December. I've not made nearly as much progress as I would have liked, but that is just life, isn't it? As you can see, last time I showed you this on the podcast, I was where that little stitch marker is, my little sock there. So I've made a bit of progress. I've added in another colour and a half, probably. Whoops. And I'm really enjoying the pattern. So this is the Cupid's Arrow wrap, which is a pattern by Ellie of Craft House Magic. I've talked about it a number of times on the podcast. I am adapting the pattern slightly. Excuse my needles clunking on the table. I am adapting the pattern slightly. So the original pattern was written with lace sections every so often, a really simple kind of eyelet lace, but I decided that I didn't want to put those in, so I am just doing garter stitch throughout, but I have kept the same kind of colour transition sections in as well. And I'm doing, the pattern is written for a variety of advent calendars. So basically she's put in loads of options. So if you want to use 10 grams or 20 grams, and whether you're using 12 colours or 24 colours. So I'm doing the 10 gram 24 colour version. So although I've got 20 gram minis from the advent calendar that I'm using, which I haven't mentioned, I'm using the Spectrum Fibres advent calendar from 2020. And although I've got 20 gram minis, I'm doing the 10 gram version because I wanted to have some leftovers so that I can do some other little bits and pieces with the advent calendar, basically. But I'm really enjoying it. I think I counted this earlier and I think I'm on colour number 10. So I'm not even halfway through it. But yeah, I've got to the point now with the pattern though where I can just pick it up and do a few bits on it and put it down, and I don't need to get the pattern out every time. So that's really nice. At least I'm kind of at that more relaxed stage with it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I want to try and get this finished this month. So, knitting goals. Let's talk knitting goals for a minute before I move on to new cast-ons. I've not set myself any big 2020, oh my goodness, I'm 2 years behind. I've not set myself any big 2022 knitting goals because historically, knitting goals never work well for me. I never keep up with them. I've tried Make 9 in previous years. I've tried setting myself smaller knitting goals. Last year, I drew out 6 skeins of sock yarn for my stash and said that I was going to knit those up throughout the year. But I always get distracted. So instead of setting a yearly knitting goal, what I thought I would do was set myself monthly knitting goals. So basically, I'm just going to pick things that I'm currently working on or things that I want to finish within the month. And that will be my little knitting challenge, my little knitting goal for me. So this month, I want to try and finish my Advent wrap. I want to try and finish a pair of socks, and I want to try and finish a cowl, which doesn't sound a lot, but I figured let's start relatively small and then I can grow from there. So if actually I finish those and it's no problem at all, then in February I can set myself bigger goals and bigger targets and go from there, basically. We'll see what happens. Can I stick to my own monthly goals? Probably not, but it'll be fun trying. What do you do? What are your knitting goals and your knitting plans? I'd be curious to know. I know that Make 9 works well for a lot of people. I know that some people set themselves other types of knitting goals. Let me know in the comments because I would be really, really curious to hear what all of you do. Right. New cast-ons. Let's move on to a couple of new cast-ons. So I've had to move bags around because yesterday Arthur managed to spill an entire glass of juice right over my knitting trolley, Fortunately, it didn't go through any of the project bags onto the yarn, but it did soak 3 or 4 project bags. So I've had to move things out of project bags and into different project bags, and now I don't know which is in each project bag, which is a bit frustrating. Right, we'll go with this one then. Socks. These are all project bags from the little grey girl, but I dug this one out. I like this little fantasy is it a unicorn? Yeah, it's a unicorn with wings, so I don't think it is a unicorn, isn't it? Do they have a different name if they're unicorns and they've got wings? I think they do, but I can't remember what it is. Living in this lovely little bag is my Christmas Eve cast on. So I cast on, if you were watching Vlogmas, you'll remember that I gave you all the chance to choose what my Christmas Eve cast on was going to be. And the unanimous, pretty much, well, maybe not unanimous, but like massive majority voted for this colourway, which is my Christmas Morning Chaos colourway. I dyed this back in, must have been 2017, the year my business opened. I dyed up this colourway as a special Christmas colourway. And I've never knit it. It's been sat in my stash ever since. But finally, I have cast it on. I cast it on Christmas Day in the end because I didn't find time on Christmas Eve. And I've not got very far. I've knit the leg of a sock. So here it is. This is the leg of the sock. And I'm really enjoying how this colourway is knitting up, actually. If I dyed it again, I would do it slightly differently because there's not heavy enough speckling in the speckled sections, in my opinion. There's quite a lot of white sections. So I wish I'd put like heavier speckling in that white section. But I was very new to dyeing. But I do love the way you get this kind of micro striping effect with the red and the green. And I'm really enjoying knitting it up. So I finished the leg and I dug out just a bright red mini that I'm going to pop in for the heel, which is my next step, is to put that in. Oh, child interruption. Hello? Why are you throwing an owl at me? Okay, child interruption. Jasper randomly opened the door and threw a stuffed toy owl at me. I'm not sure why. Anyway, yeah, I'm in the next thing I need to do is put a heel into this sock, but I would like to get this pair of socks or another pair of socks that is on the needles finished this month. Yeah, just a pair of socks I am giving myself as a goal. Now I'm wobbling this around, it's like a big red nose, isn't it? I feel like a clown. So yeah, that was my Christmas Eve cast on. I'm not doing a pattern. I'm doing a vanilla sock with these because it's a busy colourway, and I just figured that a vanilla sock would probably give me a better chance to kind of see the colourway in all its glory. And yeah, red mini for the heel. I might use the mini for the toe as well. I haven't decided. I'll make that decision when I get to the toe. But yeah, small bit of progress on that one. The mini is escaping. The other new cast on that I wanted to share with you is actually my own pattern. So I released the 12 Days of Christmas boxes, which some of you may be opening currently because it is still the 12 Days of Christmas. And in the 12 Days of Christmas box was two patterns, one that I had designed, a knitted pattern, and also a pattern by Sophie of a spring snowflake, which was a crocheted cowl pattern. And I am currently working on the sample for the knitted version. I meant to bring it up actually. I'll have to run downstairs in a second and grab the original sample. I've got the original sample that I knit when I was testing the pattern and designing the pattern, but I didn't use the 12 Days minis for it because at that point I hadn't dyed up the 12 Days minis. But I have now started on the pattern for using the actual 12 Days minis. I'm only on day 6. So there won't be any spoilers if you're still opening the advent calendar. I know a few of you opened it throughout December as like an alternative advent calendar, I guess, rather than 12 Days of Christmas calendar. So some of you have already finished your project. But for those that haven't and are still opening it, then no spoilers. But this is where I am at with the pattern. So it's a really simple cowl pattern. It's just a circular cowl, and you do sections of knit and purl. And the thing I really liked when I was designing it was that if you look really closely, if it will focus, in that purl section, that middle section, you actually get half of the purl stitch is in the previous colour and half of the purl stitch is in the new colour. So I really liked the way it kind of faded the two colours together. It's also quite nice because you can keep it unblocked and you get like this squishy kind of texture where the pearls suck it all in, or you can block it out and it's just a bit of a different texture, basically. I'm not explaining things very well, am I? But yeah, I'm really happy with how the colours are working. I went for a very much a pastel rainbow for this one. And because it's not particularly festive themed, I am planning on releasing some kits for these for shows and at some point on the website as well. I think I've got three sets spare. So if anyone didn't buy one and is desperate for one, then drop me a message because I do have 3 sets spare with the pattern, which I didn't get round to listing before Christmas because life was busy. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. I will pop downstairs quickly actually and grab the original one so you can see it finished and blocked. Okay, so here is the original one. I've not actually woven the ends in on this, so apologies if they're sticking out the bottom. But as you can see, the original one I did in a much bolder rainbow. I used a variety of yarns for this. So I used some of the minis from the Down Sheepy Lane 12 Days of Christmas from a few years ago. And then I also supplemented it with a few extra minis from my stash where I didn't quite have colours that I liked for the full rainbow, if that makes sense. But yeah, I really like the brighter rainbow version as well, and actually I think I'm going to dye up some kits so that I can do like a kit in a brighter rainbow version as well, because I think that would be really good for shows, is that you could have the kit and the pattern would be available at the same time. You can see more clearly in this brighter one what I mean about the way that that purl section fades, where you've got like the top and the bottom, you get that kind of alternating stitch in the middle. Does that make sense? But yeah, it's this actual cowl I knit on the wrong needles because I tend to knit quite tightly, so I did it on a 4mm needle, and actually the pattern I suggest a 3.5mm needle because this is a little bit loose, but I also may have overblocked it slightly, whereas the newer one should be fine. But there we go. One rainbow cowl designed by me. I have called it the Storm's End cowl because rainbows come at the end of a storm. So yeah, there we go. That is the cowl. The pattern, I will make the pattern available on my website probably mid-January, not until everybody's finished with the 12 Days of Christmas, but the pattern will be available on my website come mid-January, something like that, I think. I wish I had the crochet version to show you, but keep an eye on Sophie, a Spring Snowflake. She is knitting up a sample of the crochet version in the official yarns no, she's not. She's crocheting up a version of the crochet sample of the crochet pattern in the 12 Days yarns. And that's going to look gorgeous. So she will probably be sharing that on social media at some point. Right. I've done that. I think that's it. The other thing I don't have, which I was hoping to have as a new cast on, was the second pattern, the second set of socks that I was hoping to cast on over Christmas and New Year. I've got the yarn. This is the yarn that I was planning to cast on. This is the yarn that I dyed up at the Lay Family Yarn Wool Lay Retreat. And I wanted to cast it on over Christmas. And I was going to knit now my brain has failed on this name of the pattern and I've forgotten to write it down in my show notes. Bear with me 2 seconds. The Yuletide socks. There we go. I was going to knit the Yuletide socks, which Suzanne of Green Lambkin Yarns very kindly gifted to me. And I am still planning on knitting those with that yarn. And I'm going to cast them on this month because I don't care that it's not Christmas anymore. They can go away in my box of socks for next year and be Christmas socks for next year. But yeah, I'd planned to cast them on over New Year, but our New Year went a bit wonky. We were supposed to be going up to London to stay with a friend over New Year, and then just before New Year, Arthur came down with a cold. Just a cold. No one was testing positive for COVID or anything like that. It was just a cold. But unfortunately, it went right to his chest, and he's not asthmatic, but he basically had a horrendous asthmatic chest reaction, almost like an asthma attack. And we ended up having to take him to A&E on the 29th of December, which was a bit of an ordeal because we were 40 minutes away from the nearest A&E. We were in Cornwall, and they wanted to send an ambulance, but then the ambulance never came. 3 hours after we'd been waiting for the ambulance, they rang to say, could we take him to the A&E? All a bit dramatic. Anyway, we got to A&E and they gave him inhalers and steroids, and it all helped and it all settled down, and he's been on inhalers for the last, well, up until today. I think today was the last day of inhalers, and he's fine. He's back to normal. Apparently it was like a viral asthma, so apparently in kids, because their airways are so narrow anyway, sometimes a cold can just trigger the airways to narrow in the same way that asthma makes it happen, but it's not actually, he's not asthmatic, and it might not ever happen again, but it was just basically a viral asthma, a thing. I don't really know. Anyway, so because of that, we ended up literally spending all night in A&E. So we didn't drive back up. We didn't drive up to London then. We ended up driving up the day later. We drove back up and stopped in a Premier Inn in Stafford, just drove straight back up to Scotland, and had New Year's Eve in a Premier Inn, asleep at like 10 p.m. So yeah, not quite the New Year we had planned, but it's fine. These things happen, don't they? These things happen. And I know that for a lot of people, this year hasn't been the Christmas or the New Year that they had planned. And I think we came off relatively easily in that we managed to get through Christmas absolutely fine. Nobody got ill, and we avoided the dreaded C word. Anyway, right. What should we move on to? I've got some Yarny Goodness to share. Yarny Goodness, where have I put it? Here we go. Not a lot. I got a few bits for Christmas. So, advent calendars to start with. So my Corner of Craft advent calendar had a Christmas Day skein, and this was the gorgeous Christmas Day skein. How beautiful is that? Isn't that lovely? And this is Sunrise at the Spine of the World. It's on her sturdy sock base, which was what the advent I ordered was, the sturdy sock base. And it's BFL nylon, 75% blue-faced Leicester, 25% nylon. And it is beautiful. And I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with this advent calendar. I've got all of the minis for the advent calendar in this big bag from So Can Joe. There they all are. I still need to lay them all out at some point, actually, and see if I can find like an order that I like or something like that, and decide on a project. But I need to finish my Cupid's Arrow wrap before I decide on a project as well. But yeah, that was the Christmas Day skein. And then as part of the Lay Family yarn swap, we also swapped 100 gram skein for Christmas Day. That is optional, but me and my partner both decided that we wanted to do that. And this is the one that I got for my Christmas Day skein. Isn't it gorgeous? And if you know me, or you've watched the podcast for a while, you know that I have a slight zombie obsession. And this is called Zombie Moon. And there is a little zombie progress keeper there as well. So this is super fun. This is going to turn into a very fun pair of socks. Absolutely. It is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So yeah, it's definitely going to become a nice pair of socks. And it is from Big Knitters, who I've not heard of. I'm going to have to look them up. bigknitters.co.uk. But look at those bright neon speckles. And I kind of decided, I think it's a black. It's with a black. So I suspect that this will micro stripe and be really, really fun to knit up. And then I got another Christmas present from, this one is, well, they weren't Christmas presents as such, they were advent calendar day skeins, but I did get a Christmas present from, I can't remember whether this was technically from Tom or the boys, but my boys are 8 and 5, they had a lot of help. But they got me a lovely project bag from Emma at Eldenwood Craft. Isn't that gorgeous? It's got this super fun like hiking print on it. Let me just adjust the brightness a sec. I was trying to adjust the brightness and I succeeded in turning the camera off instead. But there we go. It's got these super fun little people camping and hiking, and I love it. It's so pretty. And it is a lovely, it's got, there you go, Emma's name in there, Eldenwood Craft. And it's got pockets, and it's it's just lovely. I need a project to go in it now. So that was my Yarny Goodness. I did think about going through my advent calendars, but actually, do you know what? I'm going to leave that for this week. And when I start projects with them, I will share them in full then. My Henny Penny Makes advent calendar, I'm planning to do a crocheted blanket with. I just need to decide on a square pattern. And the Nerdy Advent from Bumbling Yarns, I'm planning on adding into a big Bumbling Yarns blanket, because I've got some of her scrappy packs and a few other minis and things from Laura as well. So they're all going to go in with that together and create a big Bumbling Yarns blanket. I want to be clever and do something where I use different sizes of squares. And because I've got some 5-gram minis, but I've also got some 10-gram minis, and I've also got some 20-gram minis. So I like the idea of creating a blanket that is made from like a mix of small, medium and big crocheted squares. But I need to have I need to do a bit of research, and I need to do a little bit of testing to see if I can do that basically without it all being completely uneven. I'm not sure. Or do I just throw myself straight in and start joining it and then hope for the best and have a wonky blanket? I don't really know. But yeah, that's my Yarny Goodness. So I'm going to finish off with 2 things now. First of all, a little bit of shop news, and then a little bit of a chat about my plans for the podcast going into the new year. So let's start with shop news and get that out the way. Shop news. What is shop news? I'm just looking at my thing. Clubs. New clubs for 2022 have launched. They are currently available for pre-order. I'm going to turn this brightness down again. Let's see if I can do this without turning the camera off this time. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. I've made it brighter. There we go. That's a bit better. Anyway, so I have launched my clubs. So I'm running 2 yarn clubs this year. So first of all, there is the Middle Earth Minis Club. I keep wanting to call it the Marvellous Monthly Minis Club because that was last year. But no, the Middle Earth Minis Club, which is all inspired around The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings and basically the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. So the first quarter will all be inspired by The Hobbit, and then we'll go through Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers and The Return of the King throughout the rest of the year. And basically each month you'll get 5 mini skeins, all inspired by various things throughout those books. So I'll be drawing inspiration from characters, places, events, basically anything, you know, creatures, all kinds of things within those books. It's going to be really hard to narrow it down to 15 colourways per book. But I will have to. They're currently, so that's currently available to pre-order. You can order it monthly. So if you just fancy January to give it a bit of a taster, then that's absolutely fine. Or you can order it quarterly. So you can order January, February and March in one go so that you don't forget to order them. And they can either be shipped out each month or particularly for international customers, I offer the option to have them held and then ship at the end of the quarter, because it helps with handling fees. Rather than you still have to pay customs, but it helps with handling fees. You only have to pay 1 lot instead of 3. So that's that club. And then I've also got a sock club available for this year as well, which is Beatrix Potter inspired. So each month I will be drawing inspiration from a different Beatrix Potter story and dyeing up a skein of yarn or a sock set, depending on your choice. You have a wide array of options within that one. So going back to the Middle-earth minis, you can choose 10 gram or 20 gram minis in either 4-ply or DK. With the sock club, with the Beatrix Potter sock club, you can choose pretty much any of my bases. So merino nylon, stellina, which is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina. BFL nylon, which is an 80% BFL, 20% nylon high twist. Merino bamboo, which is 80% merino, 20% bamboo. And also DK. And across the, so my DK, which is 100% DK. And then across those, you can either choose, apart from the DK, which is just 100 gram skein, with the other ones, with the merino nylon, you can choose 100 gram skein, 120 gram sock set, or a 70 gram sock set. And with all the other bases, you can choose either 100 gram skein or 120 gram sock set. I hope that made sense. It's quite extensive this year. So yeah, Beatrix Potter Club, I will be dyeing up colourways inspired by each of the different Beatrix Potter stories throughout the year. So January is the Tale of Peter Rabbit, and then February is the Tale of Squirrel Nutkin, and March is the Tale of Tom Kitten. And throughout the year there will be more stories, and some of your favourite characters will turn up. Yeah, I'm excited about dyeing it up. I've got in mind my ideas with some of the colourways already, and I'm really excited. It will be quite different to the Grimm's colourways, which were quite dark and moody. These ones will be a little bit not necessarily pastel, but more on that kind of pastel-y, kind of neutrally, no, not even neutral. Do you know what? I'm not even going to say it, because I don't really know until I dye them up. I know what I'm aiming for, and you'll see when you get the first month. They're going to be lovely. Anyway, that is the clubs. And then the other thing I'm planning on releasing at some point in January, probably at the end of January, because I know that January can be a very expensive month. So let's wait until the end of January. I'm going to be releasing a Narnia collection. So I'm going to be dyeing up some of my favourite colourways from the Narnia Advent Calendar, and I'm going to be dyeing them up as 100 gram skeins and making them available as part of a new collection for the shop. So I'm excited to get doing that. I still haven't narrowed down which colours I'm going to be doing. If you've got my Narnia Advent and you have favourite colours, then let me know, because that might help me narrow down which ones I pick. But I'm really excited to do that as well. Right, I'm going to have a sip of tea and then we'll talk podcast. My tea has definitely gone cold now. Okay, so podcast plans for 2022. I'm going to try and stick with weekly podcast episodes so that you get like a little update as to what I've been working on, hopefully with a bit more knitting content than has been over the last few months. But I quite like sitting down weekly. I've got it built into my schedule now that I do it on a Monday morning, and that's working really, really nicely for me. I'm also going to be carrying on my week in vlogs series. So each month I will pick a week and I will be doing like a week in January, a week in February, where you get kind of daily vlogs, typically Monday to Friday, unless we have something fun and exciting going on at the weekend. But it will be typically Monday to Friday. And with those vlogs, I will cover behind the scenes stuff with regards to kind of Giddy Yarns. You might get to see a little bit of dyeing. You'll also get to see a little bit more of kind of fitting crafting into my daily life. Anything else, other crafts I'm working on, but I'll also talk a bit more about books that I'm reading, and if I'm doing any cooking or baking, or, you know, it'll be much more lifestyle stuff in there, and kind of behind the scenes of the business and things like that. And then I'm also thinking of doing, at the end of each month, I'm thinking of doing an extra video, which I'm going to call my monthly roundup video, where I look back over the month and look at kind of all the projects that I finished that month, all the projects that I've cast on, whether I've met my knitting goals for the month, and then setting knitting goals for the next month as well, because I thought that could be quite fun. So that's kind of my plan. And then maybe, and there'll be no scheduling to this, no like regularity of it, but then I'm also planning to hopefully do a few like days out basically. So if we go for a really nice walk somewhere, I might vlog the walk and do a little days out video as well. Yeah. And we'll see, as the year progresses, we'll see whether I do. I know in previous few years I've done April or May vlogs, and I've done a daily vlog series throughout April or May. We'll see how this year goes. 2021 was a very busy, very chaotic, very stressful year for me. And one of the things that I want to try and do this year is not take on too much. So I have reduced the number of shows that I'm going to be applying to, although saying that I've already got 2 that I'm already booked into, and I'm definitely applying for 1 later in the year. But anyway, I'm reducing the number of shows that I'm going to, and I don't want to add the pressure of daily vlog series committing to that right now. But we'll see. You know, it might be that actually this year settles down a bit more and I find I kind of want to do a daily vlog series. But that's the plan so far. So there'll be weekly podcasts, there'll be a week in vlogs each month, and then there'll also be a monthly roundup video at the end of the month, because I like the idea of doing that. Anyway, I have chatted for far too long. Hopefully you have enjoyed the first podcast of the new year. If you are new here or you haven't done so yet, then please do hit the subscribe button, and please give the video a like, give it a thumbs up, because that really does help get my videos out there, and it really helps other people to see them, people who might not have seen them before. It helps recommend it to other people, and that would be great. And yeah, comment, let me know. Any of the questions that I've asked, please leave me comments. I do love getting back to comments. I love reading all your comments, and I really enjoy that interaction, so that it's not just me sitting and talking to a camera for 40 minutes. I will see you all again next week. Bye.